thousands of young people across that nation have been protesting over the last few days, demanding the resignation of President Gnassingbé. Protesters have been met with brute force from security forces. The protests come as President Gnassingbé faces growing calls to resign over changes to the country's constitution that could keep him in power indefinitely. I want to run you through what we know has been playing out for quite some while and do a bit of a trajectory for you this afternoon as to why we're here, and really, if there's that big question that can be answered, where do the people of Togo go from here following these last few days of protests? And so it all starts from the 1967 coup by Gnassingbé. And there's an important reason why we're starting from here. Because if you look at the current president of Togo right now, Gnassingbé, that's his father. 1967, came into power via a coup, became democratic at some point via an election, and stayed on until 2005. He died, the military backed his son, he became president. There were concerns which were raised quite strongly about the fact that no election was held. There was an election subsequently in that same year which affirmed him as president. And since then, there's been a number of elections, 2010, 2015, 2020, all of such elections happening. There have been concerns raised, particularly from the opposition, making the case strongly that, look, all of this has been rigged polls which do not determine the true state or will of the Togolese people, but nonetheless, he's remained. Now, fast forward to 2024, a controversial idea is mooted for a constitutional review. What is this review seeking to do? Change the system of governance from the presidential, as they have it in Togo, to parliamentary. And all of that officially came into effect in May of 2025. But just by way of a bit more for you, what this controversial constitutional reform has done, it's pretty much turned the position of president into a ceremonial one, created a new nomenclature known as the Council of Ministers, with the president of that council being clothed with all of the powers of the state. Guess what? Gnassingbé was appointed the president of that council, and that kick-started protests early on this month. There's been different ones since this idea was mooted in 2024, but since June 5, there's been pockets of protests up until now, until this point. Well, the government of Togo, we understand, is accusing foreign media and individuals of orchestrating misinformation and the likes, contributing to the protests as was seen. But let's go onto the phone lines right now. Professor Vladimir Chidanso is an international relations expert and also a security expert. He's joining us this afternoon to pick his thoughts, quick thoughts as well on the latest we're seeing from Togo. Prof, appreciate you speaking to us. How does the latest protest reflect the governance or the democratic challenges in Togo, considering the government stance, as we're learning of this afternoon? They are blaming all of this on international media and misinformation.
Well, it's quite unfortunate that everywhere in the world we are paying lip service to democracy, even in our own Ghana. The point is that every democratic process has a history. The canvas you lay is the canvas that will help you to build the democratic process. In Togo, right from independence, we could see that tribalism entered very seriously until the coup that brought the Cabre people into power. And they have made it impossible for other tribes, especially the Ewe tribes of the south, to come to power. Secondly, because they want to please the international community that they are blaming, they try to do a checklist of democracy. Do they have frequent elections? Yes, elections. Do they have a constitution? Yes. Parliament? Yes. Institutions? Yes. And then we say we have a democracy. That's what they're doing. At every point in time, they try to use the constitution. when Gnassingbé was brought to power, it was through a constitutional order. And once it is from the constitution, then you can't blame them. They are democratic. The recent issue also comes from the very fact that the constitution was manipulated in order to give him extension of his rule. Now he wants more power, and then parliament is made up in such a way that they can do and undo. And it's the same parliament that is making it possible for him to continue. So what is happening is just a mockery of democracy, and yet when international media begins to unravel whatever is happening, we are angry. It's happening in almost every country. In America itself, everywhere, democracy is hiccuping very, very badly. And I don't think that we should be surprised at what is happening. It's part of the game everywhere in the world, where we are allude to democracy even though we are making a mockery of it.
Questions being asked of ECOWAS, the regional bloc, but from where you sit, can ECOWAS ever intervene? Because this is a democratic matter, as you've alluded to, happening in Togo. Protests happen everywhere. Why should ECOWAS do anything different than what they've done since all of this started, but sit aside and watch matters happen in an independent state?
Well, a multilateral organization has every right to ensure that part of its membership does not go astray, or there is instability in one part of the multilateral organization. So everywhere, whether it is Europe or the Americas, to make sure that none of the constituent members fall into problems like what is happening in Togo. And that is why ECOWAS might want to poke its nose into an affair which does not concern ECOWAS as such. So ECOWAS has every right to use diplomacy and no force, to use diplomacy in trying to bring some kind of stability to any constituent member. So we can't blame ECOWAS. We have done it before. In fact, ECOWAS threatened to use force before Togo stabilized some few years back. And so, yes, as a multilateral organization, they would not want to see what is happening. Already we have a problem of the AES on hand. So ECOWAS will definitely, the political bureau, the commission, will ensure that they use all they can in their to bring sanity into the Togolese political economy.
Prof, thank you very much. I'm sure we'll hear from you again as the situation develops in Togo. But let's switch and bring in my colleague Faisal Abdul Idrisu, because he is monitoring the development for us from Ghana's border in the... Right. Thank you very much, as always. Let's connect with Faisal. Like I mentioned, he's our Volta regional correspondent who's been monitoring the situation in Togo. He's joining us right now. Faisal, the statement, as we've been talking to viewers about, reads about misinformation and disinformation causing the young Togolese to go out and protest. Talk to us a bit more about this statement as issued by the Togolese government.
Yes, so the Togo government yesterday, Sunday, 29th June, released a statement regarding the happenings in the country, accusing some individuals and persons out of its territories, including the media, for using AI-generated content to speak hatred, protest, and violence against the Republic of Togo. These persons, the government is so indicative that some of them have been arrested for this statement. Some of these persons arrested, according to the statement, are foreign nationals. The statement is, however, silent on the identities and nationalities of the persons they have arrested so far. They also indicated some political opponents in the country are behind the civil protests in the country and are indicating that they are going all out to ensure that these persons are brought to book, because their actions, they say, are an affront to the public order and, of course, the laws of the Republic of Togo.
Right.
The statement also touched on the fact that some dead bodies that were recovered from the lagoon in Be on the 26th and 28th, and also in the fourth lake in Akusidewa, are bodies that, after some legal and medical analysis, indicate that are persons who were drawn in the river. And so these deaths the government is saying has nothing to do with the protest. But interestingly, also, the statement is congratulating the Togolese security forces for their show of professionalism and sense of responsibility in ensuring that the population out there in their protest are protected, even though the government is saying that they have been provoked on numerous occasions. They say that the security forces, ironically, from what we are seeing, are acting professionally and so responsibly.
And first, let's talk about Ghanaians possibly who could be caught up in all of this. We do know there's a large number of Ghanaian traders who go to Togo, return, even Ghanaians who are farming in Togo and the like. How has this affected all of them and trading activities? Yeah, trading activities largely has been affected by these ongoing civil arrests. You know that the Gnassingbé market play host to a large number of cross-border women traders, particularly those in communities along the border, places like Akano, places like Aflao, Voraba, among others. Between the period of now that is happening, screening along the borders have also been tightened, and so women largely are scared and fear for their lives, so they are not able to move freely across the borders. If you get to the Aflao main border, screening has been tightened, and so a lot of people are rather staying back. They will not go to Lome, the Gnassingbé market, to do business. Now, when you cross over to the other side of the border, which is the Kojovia Copper side of Lome, you know the National Assembly is just a few meters away, and so you cannot go beyond the National Assembly just before the Lome market. So a lot of the women engaged in trade across the border are not able to go. This morning, I engaged the CEO of the National Cross-Border Women Traders Association, who indicates to me that a lot of their members are stuck at home, even some who have ordered goods in Togo and were due to go for them are not able to go. And so the thing is largely affecting movement across the border and to a large extent trading activities. Faisal, thank you as always for those details. That's my colleague in the Volta region, Aflao, to be specific, monitoring the developments in our eastern neighbors, Togo. And there'll be a lot more if you stay with us here on TV2 on this particular subject.